Good evening, race fans, and welcome back to Season 12 of the Attrition Sim Race Campus Oval Series presented by SM Racing Products. Tonight, we're here at a track that should be familiar to a lot of the longtime viewers of the ASRC Oval Series. After all, this track has hosted the championship of the Oval Series twice now, and of course, that is none other than America's hometown track, South Boston Speedway. Course down in South Boston, Virginia, coming in at 0.4 miles or 0.64 kilometers in length. This is bound to be one heck of a tricky little track for these ARCA drivers, especially considering some of the longer tracks that they have been to on the schedule these past couple of weeks. But right now, coming into tonight's event, the championship is currently tied between Brandon Feeney and Garrett Streets. Both drivers have 230 points to their name, and only Feeney is in the lead because he has 2 wins, whereas Garrett Street only has 1. And just behind back in third, Brian Sabelski, 208 points to his name. It is still very much anyone's championship to take here in these final couple of races. That said, drivers are making their way on down trackside, so how about we head down there and see how things will be shaken off for round number 10 of the season. Starting out on the pole of this one in the number 85, 2 wins to his name so far this season and 2 wins to his name at this speedway in the past. It's going to be Mr. 4-time champion Brian Sabelski rolling it off P number 1. Starting off in position number 2, that's going to be that 15 of Mr. Garrett Streets, part of the SM Racing Products team, rolling it off position number 2. And guess what? Right behind him, position number 3, going to be the number 74, Jeremy Morrow, the other part of the SM Racing Products team, rounding out our podium in qualifying. Fourth place can go back to that number 96, the Dos Primos Tequila entry of Howie Feltersnatch, followed by Jason Gardner in the ASRC number 93, rounding out the top 5. Starting back in 6th, the driver out of Canada in the Liqui 38, our current championship points leader, that is Brandon Feeney, rolling it off position number 6. 7th place can go back to one of the Mooselander Racing drivers, another driver out of Canada, this one driving the Mountain Dew entry, that's going to be Michael Sparks, rolling it off position number 7. 8th place going back to Nico Morelli back in that Dirty Mo Radio number 14 back in 8th, followed by the CZ Robotics 24 of Corey Logan back in position number 9. 10th is going to go to that unsponsored 78 here this evening. That is going to be the 78 of Derek Murphy, rolling it off, rounding out our top 10 here tonight. Back in 11, going to be the 46 of Justin Walters in the 946 Designs entry out of Winston-Salem, North Carolina. First start here in the league since July 2022. And finally rounding out the field here in the number 62, that's going to be TJ Henson in the South Point Racing entry, making her first start of the season as well. Green flag up in the air here at the South Boston Speedway. Let's see what these ARCA drivers have to throw at each other at this tiny little short track. Side by side for the lead all through the first lap, but Brian Sabelski is going to have the advantage, clearing Garrett Streets out of turn number 4. Still side by side, further back in the back, that is the 96 of Feltersnatch in the Dos Primos Tequila entry, stuck up on the high line. SF Racing Products teammates blocking him up there, in contact between the 74 and Feltersnatch. Very nearly spinning it out. That was an amazing save by that 74 machine. It is chaos all around the speedway, and we are only just getting things started here, race fans. Again, incredibly loose for the 74. This time, not quite so lucky. Caution flag going to fly for the SM Racing Products number 74 of Jeremy Morrow. One really good save. The second one, not quite what he was hoping for there, but still doesn't actually look like the damage on that 74 machine is all that bad. He should be all right to keep going here. That said, let's take a look back, get a bit of a replay of what all just went down to that 74 machine. Looks like maybe a little bit of help. No, not quite. Looks like he might have just gotten down onto the apron there. That was a little bit of a weird bobble there. Not quite what we normally see out of these Arco Menard Chevrolet cars. Let's take another look here, see if we can't try and get a better look at things. It just snaps on him. And it looks for a second like he might have locked up one of the front tires. Let's see if we can't get a top-down view from our traffic cam, see if we can't break this down a little bit better. Really close racing with Nico Morelli right behind, but they don't actually make any contact. But sure enough, he goes into the corner a little bit sharper than he was hoping for, locks up the brakes, and that sends it around. So that is going to be caution flag number 1 here for Jeremy Morrow, currently being scored down 8 positions from where he qualified. Not quite how he wanted this race to start out. Let's go up to the front of the field here, see if we can't get the pace car in frame. Sure enough, lights are out on the iRacing.com pace car, so we will be going green flag racing again next time by. And we are lining him up 2 by 2. We got enough laps in the books for it to not be called a single file restart. It's going to be Sabelski and Streets making up the front row. We're going to try this thing again here at the South Boston Speedway. Pace car is off. And green flag up in the air once again. An amazing start by Sabelski. Already 0.6 of a second of a lead going into turn number 1. We have trouble on the front stretch potentially. That 24 machine is still going, but we got word from the truck that the 24 went around. Side by side further up in the field, we'll see if we can't get something spooled up from the truck here in just a minute to see what happened to the number 24 machine of that CZ Robotics entry. Now 2 seconds behind the rest of the field. That is really bizarre. Side by side up here for third, actually no, excuse me, second here between Morelli and Feltersnatch, battling it out. Both drivers have gained position so far this race. Both of them still looking behind Sabelski. Of course, Sabelski really needs this win to get back up into the championship battle, having to break up the 2-way tie that's going on between Feeney and Streets in the point standings coming into tonight's event. Of course, easier said than done here, but Sabelski has the most wins here of any driver present on the track. Tyler McRae has the most wins here at 3 overall, but he was unable to attend here this evening. And it looks like we do have word from the truck that we've got something spooled up of what happened to Corey Logan on that restart. So let's take a look down at that CZ Robotics number 24. A little bit slow to the start, and then a really big check up there. I'm kind of surprised Race Control did not throw the caution flag there, but we kept it green flag racing. And now, of course, Corey Logan running back into the 12th position. Starting to make a little bit of time back up on that 46 of Justin Walters, slowly but surely, but still a long way to go here. 15 laps in the books, 1 caution flag so far this evening here at the South Boston Speedway. And already you can see the lead lap cars starting to make their way up to lap traffic. Drivers setting only 15-second lap times around this speedway, so only a little bit over 5 seconds between Logan and our race leader of Brian Sabelski. Definitely a little bit hairy here, having to deal with lap traffic that early on in the race, but so far all of these drivers have been able to handle lap traffic pretty well in our previous races. Of course, let's take a moment to ride on board with Mr. Garrett Streets and get an onboard view of what exactly these drivers are having to deal with here. This is not a very wide speedway by any means, especially considering all of that apron down there you pretty much can't drive on. It is just simply too slippery down there. So that does not leave a whole lot of room for these drivers to maneuver, and once lap traffic becomes a factor, we could potentially be seeing drivers even go 2 or 3 wide around this 0.4 mile speedway. We're currently riding on board with Garrett Streets, and caution flag is out on the speedway. Trouble, and it looks like the trouble is going to be for Mr. Brandon Feeney, championship leader coming into tonight's event, has gone around here this evening. Looks like he will be staying on the lead lap, though. And again, it doesn't look like there's much in the way of visible damage on that Liqui 38, so he should be good to keep going here. But having to go to the tail end of the field at the track as small and as difficult to pass as this one, definitely not doing him any favors in his chase for the championship. Let's take a look back here, see what happened to the driver of that Liqui 38 machine. Behind the 93 of Jason Gardner, going through 3 and 4. A little bit loose off the corner, locks it down. Little bit of a nudge to the front of the nose, but just a bit of a self-spin here is all it took to send that 38 machine around. Definitely unfortunate for Mr. Brandon Feeney. It's not the end of the race. It still has a long time left to go. I would imagine that he's going to need 2 new tires after that one. Scraping the bottom of those tires with them locked up like that, that is definitely going to be trouble later on in tonight's event. Of course, only one change of tires here in the ASRC Oval Series. You have to make those tires count. And even one little mishap like that can completely throw it out the window. That said, as it stands right now, Feeney has elected to stay out on the speedway in that Liqui entry, so he's going to try and keep racing on these old tires. Lights are out on the iRacing.com pace car, though. We're going to be trying this thing once again. Brian Sabelski, Nico Morelli, your front row drivers, both drivers with wins to their names so far this season. Garrett Street's also a win to his name. And then Felter Snatch up here with only 1 race of experience under his belt, starting in the 2nd row. Green flag up in the air. We're going to be trying this thing again here. Again, an amazing start by Sabelski, but not quite as much of a launch as he got on the last caution. Only 2 tenths between himself and Morelli, but Morelli is going to go way high down in 3 and 4. That's going to allow Felter Snatch to get down on the inside. Not quite able to get the nose in there. Just like that, starting to single file out just a little bit. Drivers starting to realize maybe they need to be a little bit more patient here. I think it's scraped against the wall there for Morelli. That was a bit scary. Felter Snatch dives it way down low, and that little bit of a bobble is going to be all it takes for Morelli to get passed by Felter Snatch and Garrett Streets here. Felter Snatch a little bit slow down on the corner, in trouble. Caution flag out on the speedway once again. Jeremy Morrow, Michael Sparks involved. Caution flag number 3. And again, it doesn't look like there's too bad in the way of damage on either of these machines. There's a little bit of right front damage on the 74 of Morrow, but otherwise, neither of these drivers are looking too particularly bad here. Take a look back, see if we can't figure out what all just went down to run our 3rd caution of the speedway. Sparks up high in the Mountain Dew entry. Morrow down low in the 74 SM Racing Products entry. Brandon Feeney's right up involved in this as well. And just a little bit more entry speed into the corner than Sparks was expecting there. Just the slightest little bit of a love tap, but that is all it takes here with these ARCA cars. Just a slight little nudge, and it goes completely around on you. Brandon Feeney able to avoid it, as well as the rest of the field. Murphy, and Logan, and Walters all going by without any sort of difficulty there. But definitely a good thing that incident wasn't worse than it could have been, because there was potential for a lot of wrecked race cars there, but everyone managed to avoid it without too much trouble here. But sure enough, just carried a little bit more speed than he was anticipating down into turn number 3. Got a tiny little bit of a nudge back to the back of Jeremy Morrow, and that's all it took to send him around. We've stacked it back up 2 by 2. We're going to try this thing again. Now it's Sabelski and Felter Snatch on your front row. 4-time champion up against a rookie with 2 races to his name. A green flag up in the air once again, and again Sabelski, really solid start down on that inside line. Not quite able to pull away though. Side by side for Morelli and Felter Snatch. Morelli's going to have to fall back just a little bit. Currently, Morelli, not actually our biggest mover. That is going to go to TJ Henson in that 62, the South Point Hotel entry, making her first start of the season here in the ASRC Oval Series for season number 12. Ran a pretty good bit of season number 11, but sure enough, this is her first start here in the ARCA car. Up 7 positions from where she qualified here tonight, running up inside of 5th right now. Very solid run for the driver of that number 62 machine. So, at least so far, but knowing the drivers on these speedways, a lot of them are not going to be settling for 5th place, and I don't imagine TJ Henson is going to be one of those drivers either. She's going to have her work cut out for her, though, because looking up just in front of her, Garrett Streets and Nico Morelli all over each other right now. Morelli has some damage on the left side as well. That 14 almost completely scraped off the side of the car. A little bit of a nudge there from Streets as well, right to the tail end of the field, and caution flag is out. Brandon Feeney is around. Brandon Feeney around for the second time on the speedway, and it looks like this time it's down on the backstretch, but with the way that car was looking, I think this might be a little bit of a similar incident as we saw him get into last time by. We had that caution a couple of laps ago. Hey, look down at the Liqui Moly 38 going down into turns 3 and 4. He's all by himself here, and sure enough, rear end just snaps out on him yet again. Manages to bring it to a stop and just barely graze the wall, but that's still going to be enough to get the yellow flag out on the speedway once again. Something with the tuning of that car is definitely not playing nice with that 38 here this evening. And of course, still only one set of spare tires, and he did not change tires last time by. So he's still on that tire set that he initially spun out with. Sure enough, though, just a little bit more power on the rear end than he needed, and that's all it took to get it spun around here this evening. So, as usual, still going to be Sabelski and Feldersnatch up here on the front row. That's going to be Morelli, Streets, Henson, and Gardner. Should be stacking it up 2 by 2 this time by. Sure enough. Gotta take a moment, though, while everyone is here under this caution flag to say a big thank you to everyone tuning into the stream here tonight, and a big thank you to the SM Racing Products team for coming on board here with the league and making these shows able to go on. They're a huge help to us, and right now they're running up inside the top 5. Lights out on Racing pace car. We're going to try this thing once again. 40 laps in the books, 4 cautions on the speedway. Sabelski again, a really solid start up to the front, but it's a Hornet's Nest back in the back of the field. Almost contact there between Streets and Feldersnatch. Not quite any, though. Gardner stuck up on the high line, though. That is very much not where you want to be on a track that is this tiny. He's managing to keep pace with Morelli pretty good, though. Scraping against the outside wall, not quite able to keep the momentum up. And right behind Morelli is going to be the 62 of Henson. Henson having to check up a little bit as Morelli gets loose out of the corner. Now she finds herself up on the high line, and there's the 74 of Jeremy Morrow hot on her heels. Henson going very, very wide up there through 3 and 4, scraping up against the wall again. There might potentially be a little bit of damage under that 62 machine. That's way wider than we see drivers go, even if they do push it 3 wide here at this speedway, but she seems to have it back under control underneath her now. Definitely really bizarre seeing her go that high through 3 and 4 last time by, but that's going to filter all the way back to the 7th position. Still right now the most improved driver on the speedway, up 5 positions from where he qualified, but going to make contact with the back of the 74. Caution flag out for the 5th time here this evening between TJ Henson and Jeremy Morrow. Caution flag number 5, and I'll tell you what, a lot of these drivers have had a lot of time to think about their pit strategies. Taking a replay here. Jeremy Morrow in that 74 with TJ Henson just behind and just a little bit of a love tap. All it took to send him around. Rest of the field goes wide to avoid, and fortunately no one else involved in this incident. Just a little bit of a tap there, all it takes. But that's just how it goes when the rear end of these cars compared to the front end of these cars are perfectly shaped like a ramp, excuse me. Just a little bit of a nudge to the rear, and that is all it takes to spin it around, get those rear tires lifted off the ground. 3 drivers going to be making the call down to pit lane. Jeremy Morrow, Corey Logan, TJ Henson all down on pit lane. They're going to be the only drivers on the speedway that have stopped, with the exception of Justin Walters, who has stopped on every caution so far in that number 46946 Designs entry. Driver out of Winston-Salem, making their first start in ASRC since July of 2022, and back when they did compete in ASRC regularly, they mostly drove in the Road Series and the Dirt Series, so exciting to see this driver out here on the speedway, seeing what they can do here in these ARCA Menards cars. Only 2 races left in the season after this, but still plenty of time to get some experience under your belt for season number 13. Barakanum back up at the front of the field. We're going to be trying this once again. Sabelski, Feltersnatch, Streets, Gardner, Morelli, and Sparks making up your 3 front rows here. I'd imagine Sabelski is going to once again get a really solid start down on the inside line. He has really been making these restarts work for him. Green flag up in the air, and once again Sabelski a really solid start here. Little bit of a slide from Streets down there on the inside line, and contact further back between Morelli and Gardner. Everyone really desperate to claw for any ground they can get on these restarts, because once you get into a solid green flag run, it's really difficult to get around these cars on such a low line dominant track. And potentially trouble. TJ Henson just lost several positions there, all the way back to 10th, just like that. He's even it pointed in the right direction. Everyone else in the field has their cars pointed in the right direction, so certainly did not seem like anything too catastrophic there. Now battling out side by side with Corey Logan in the CZ Robotics number 24. Coming into tonight's event, Corey currently being scored back in the 9th position in the championship standings, 1 point behind Nico Morelli. So far, been a very consistent season for that number 24, and right now looking to potentially bring home another top 10 finish here this evening. A little bit further up in the field, Justin Walters starting to get the pressure from behind from TJ Henson, and she's going to pull it down low just like that. Not much resistance from the driver of that 46 machine. Pulled it on up high, just went ahead and let her go past. 56 laps in the books, and we have had 5 cautions. I think at this point some of these drivers are really just trying to get themselves into a rhythm, get settled in for the long haul, try and keep it running green flag for the remainder of this event. And of course, experience always matters too, because next week we're going to be heading to another short track as TJ Henson gets another pass made on Michael Sparks. She is making up that ground pretty dang handily in that 62. But next week, heading to the Southern National Motorsports Park, another short track that is actually almost exactly the same size as the speedway, has a little bit more banking and is a little bit more narrow in the corners. A lot of the skills that the drivers are going to be taking away from tonight's event, they are going to be using once again next week. But when the championship rolls around, all of that is going to be thrown out the window. Heading to Pocono to crown a champion in our final full-length double points paying event of the season. That is bound to be quite the event, as we see what looks like nearly a little bit of bumping through the corners between Feeney and Jeremy Morrow. And Morrow, mind you, is a lap down right now in that 74 machine. He did elect to pit under that last caution, got new tires on that Arca Menards car, and he is now really pushing hard against the outside wall. Gotta be careful there, Morrow. Those new tires will get you places, but the outside wall is not one of the places you want to be. Side by side now for Feeney and Henson. Henson trying to make the pass work on the high side. Not a place we typically see it work here at South Boston, but sure enough, she's actually pulling alongside that number 38. We do have to remember, though, Feeney has spun twice now, and both times he has decided not to take new tires. So those tires that Feeney are on are severely beat up. Probably the worst durability tires on the speedway at this very moment, just because of how much abuse he has put them through in 2 separate self spins. Henson not quite going to clear him, and caution flags out on the speedway once again. That's Morelli and Gardner around. Morelli and Gardner around, and Gardner actually got pushed down onto pit lane in that incident. Hopefully we won't see a penalty for the number 93 for unsafe pit entry. That could be absolutely disastrous for Gardner if it doesn't work out in his favor here. That's how. Let's take a look back, try and see if we can't see what all went down to bring out caution flag number 6 here. Side by side for Morelli and Morrow. Morelli gets a little bit loose off the corner. That allows Gardner to pull up behind him. And once again, we've seen it time and time again, just the slightest little bit of a love tap to the rear sends both drivers around. A little bit of damage for Henson as well. Not quite able to get out of the way in time. Another look down at that. Well, just a little bit of the same old, same old. Gardner brings a little bit more speed into the corner than he was anticipating. Not able to get the car slowed down to keep from avoiding him there. You know what, let's ride on board with TJ Henson, see what she saw going into this incident right behind the two of them. Also looking to try and set a pass up on the high line, but not quite able to check up in time to avoid the damage there. So just like that, caution flag number 6 out on the speedway, and it looks like most of the rest of the field has elected to come down to pit lane. Zabelski, Streets, and Feltersnatch are the only 3 drivers remaining that have not made a pit stop yet. And I'll tell you what, I'd imagine the 3 of them are banking that there's going to be another caution, and if that's the case, they might just be able to save enough fuel to get to the end of this race without tires. That's a very big what if, though. They're all having to hedge their bets on there being another caution flag here. And it looks like Nico Morelli is going to be waved around the pace car here, so we're lining them back up 2 by 2. Lights out on the pace car. Brian Sabelski, Garrett Streets, your front row. Feltersnatch, Henson, now row number 2. And Walters and Sparks going to be making up row number 3. We have shuffled this field every which way possible. Let's see what these drivers are able to make happen here. Green flag back up in the air once again, and this time not that great of a start for Sabelski. He was not able to pull away from all these drivers on new tires. Street's going to dive it down low. Street sends it in way down low on Sabelski, not quite able to get the nose underneath him. Side by side as Henson scrapes against the wall just behind. These drivers are throwing everything they've got at each other here. Everyone is trying everything they can. Only a little bit over 25 laps left to go here, and Streets is absolutely raring to try and get a lap led to his name. Zabelski has already locked himself in as taking home the bonus for most laps led here tonight, but Streets could still try and take home the bonus for leading at least 1 lap, and Streets can still try and take home the bonus for winning this race, but the caution flag flying once again for TJ Henson and Corey Logan. Word from the truck, Brandon Feeney might have also been involved in that incident. Let's see if we can't take a look back here. And of course, side by side for Streets, or not Streets, excuse me, for Henson and Feldersnatch going down into 3 and 4. Henson goes a little bit wide. Rear end snaps out from behind her. There's TJ Walters. Hard impact for Sparks. Hard impact for Feeney. And oh, monumental impact for Corey Logan. I think that's the first flip that we have seen so far in 2023 season number 4, season 12 of competition. And mind you, we have raced at Talladega with 18 drivers, but I'm pretty sure that's the first flip we've seen all season. And of course, we got to get a little bit of a replay of that. Couple of drivers just not able to check up in time here. But I think it's only fair we have to take a ride on board with TJ Henson here, see what she saw in this incident. Just loses the rear end. There's a scrape against Walters and Feeney around, and then Corey Logan just not able to get that car slowed down in time. Miraculously, she keeps it rolling, though. She's not out of this race yet, though she is down on pit lane, so she might actually... Nope, she's coming back out on the track. We have flipped a race car here, race fans, but that is not keeping them out of competition here this evening. Line them back up 2 by 2. Sabelski, Streets, Walters, and Feltersnatch going to be your 2 front rows. Going to be Sparks and Gardner back in row number 3 as well. Then Morrow, Murphy, Feeney, and Morelli rounding out the top 10 here this evening. We're going to be trying again. Green flag up in the air for the 8th time here tonight, and we are side by side for the lead. And we have a new race leader just like that. Sabelski falls back to P2. Garrett Streets takes home his first lap lead of the evening. Caution flag is out once again. Morelli. Uh-oh, do we have another car upside down? We almost do. Wouldn't be a race at Sovo without a little bit of controversy. TJ Henson might have just gone upside down for the 2nd time here this evening. We're going to have to take a look back at that replay to get some verification. Looking down actually at Derek Murphy in the 68 is where the camera crews are saying this incident originated. And sure enough, contact there. And actually looks like it might have been a bit of a stack up. Derek Murphy had to check up for someone in front of him. I believe that was the 74 that he had to slow down for there. Morelli slams on the brakes, not quite able to get it slowed down. There's... oh, boy. Do we count that, chat? Does that count as our 2nd flip? That's really on the fence there. We had 2 tires on the ground. I think it's fair that we count that as close enough. Nico Morelli now down on pit lane right now. The rest of the field still out. And once again, our top 3 drivers, Street, Sabelski, and Feltersnatch, have still elected to stay out of pit lane. I think at this rate, they're committed to the bit. I think they're all just going to stay out no matter what happens. The whole rest of the field is on new tires behind them. Most of them pit at lap 66. A couple of them pit back on lap 47. But everyone outside of the top 3 are on brand new tires. I'll tell you what, race fans, I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but I have a little bit of a hunch that we might be seeing another caution flag here this evening. It is quite possible that we will see the yellow flag fly once again. We have 12 drivers here, all raring for a win. It's late in the season. It is a tie for the championship right now. This is for all the marbles. We have been moved to a single file restart, though. So that is going to give Streets a little bit of an advantage that Sabelski has not had access to at all this race. Big question is, will it make a difference? Pace car is off. We're going to try this once again. Green flag up in the air here at the South Boston Speedway. Green flag up in the air, and already there is trouble back in the back. Yellow flag back out once again. Who would have guessed it, race fans? Single file restarts did not fix the issue there. Not one little bit. Rumor has it from the truck, this one's going to be starting off with Jeremy Morrow on this restart in the 74. Sure enough, a little bit of an accordion effect there, and there's TJ Henson as well, picking up a little bit more damage for good luck. Why not? Let's take a look back, take a ride on board with TJ Henson. I feel like we've had to ride on board with her multiple times here this evening. Let's get a look of someone behind this incident. Bit of an accordion going down into turn number 1, and as soon as we got on the throttle, had to get back on the brakes. Michael Sparks, Nico Morelli both down on pit lane right now. Sparks on his way out. Morelli has been down there for almost 4 minutes now. Morelli might be out for the remainder of tonight's event. Corey Logan also going to be making the call down, and there is some pretty substantial damage on the side of that 24 as well. That's potentially multiple drivers out of tonight's event. Still going to be a single file restart once again, though. Of course, subsequent cautions like that will be keeping it single file. Currently crossing the line to have 88 laps in the books. And of course, I don't think we've had to use them once so far here in season number 12 off the top of my head, but green-white checkered finishes are an option here in the ASRC Oval Series, so depending on how these final 10 laps end up shaking out, we may end up having to see our first overtime attempt of the season. And it looks like currently Jeremy Morrow is stuck behind our race leaders and the pace car. Hopefully that 74 will be getting the wave around. Sure enough, there he is being told, go around the pace car. Please do not restart in front of the race leaders. So Jeremy Morrow will be getting put back up 1 lap. I don't think that will put him back. No, that will put him back up on the lead lap. So Jeremy Morrow back on the lead lap. That leaves your top 10 all on the lead lap. Michael Sparks down by, looks like 2 laps, and then Nico Morelli still on pit lane for 5 minutes now. Green flag up in the air. We're going to be trying this thing again. 10 laps to go here at the South Boston Speedway. 10 more times around this 0.4 mile circuit for all the marbles here this evening. And Jason Gardner loses it coming out of 4. Gardner up into the outside line. Flagman says, screw it, we're keeping it green here. That's going to send Gardner all the way down to 8th, just like that. He was in the 2nd row on that restart, now all the way back to almost the tail end of the field here. It's not much damage on the outside of that number 93 machine. He might be able to make it work. Contact with Corey Logan, though, into the outside wall again. More contact further back in the field as well. Sounded like Michael Sparks might have picked up a little bit of damage there. Everyone is beating and banging here. And, of course, there is always the potential for another caution flag, but everyone's trying to clean it up here. 7 laps left to go around the speedway. Currently looking at the battle for 4th between Justin Walters and Brandon Feeney. Feeney down on the low line in that Liqua Moly number 38. He's going to pull it up alongside. Just like that, able to clear Walters without too much difficulty in that 46 machine. Walters now falling back to 5th. Up 6 spots from where he qualified, though, so all things considered, a pretty solid run so far for that 46 machine. Big high five up in the air. We're going to be going 5 laps left to go here at the South Boston Speedway. Garrett Streets leads the field by about half a second over Brian Sabelski. That's going to be Felter, Snatch, Feeney, and Walters, your top 5. Everyone pretty spread out now. A little bit of a bobble out of the corner for Streets, though. 4 laps left to go. And already you see lap traffic up there. That looks like that is TJ Henson. Now with the readers rapidly approaching behind her. Going to be 2 to go when we cross the line. All we need is to get through this lap without an incident, and the race will end at its scheduled distance. Going out of turn number 4, white flag up in the air. The next flag is going to end it. Garrett Streets leads the field by half a second. Ryan Sabelski pretty close behind, but he's not going to be able to close that gap up. Falter Snatch sends it in. Not quite able to make it happen either. Garrett Streets going to be taking home win number 2 here at the South Boston Speedway, and Garrett Streets is going to be our new championship leader going into next week's event at the Southern National Motorsports Park. I'll tell you what, race fans, South Boston Speedway never fails to be quite possibly the craziest track that the ASRC Oval Series ever goes to. And of course, now Garrett Streets etches his name into the list of drivers that has won the ASRC Oval Series here at South Boston. This is his first win at this track. Certainly not his first win at the league, but his first time here in South Boston, Virginia. All right, race fans, we're going to give these minutes just a moment to get back to their haulers, and then we'll see if we can't get a couple of words from your podium finishers here this evening. Don't go anywhere, race fans. We will be back in just a moment. Alrighty, race fans, welcome back to the South Boston Speedway. Welcome back to the Attrition Sim Race Campus Oval Series presented by SM Racing Products. One crazy heck of a race done here this evening, and one heck of just an overall season it's been so far coming up to this. Fortunately, not quite able to get Mr. Feltersnatch up here in the booth yet, so in the meantime, we're going to be starting things off here with our second place finisher, Mr. Brian Sabelski. You led dang near every single lap of this race, but just came up a little bit short. How are you feeling tonight?
Not good. I'm going to be real. Not good. Frustrated. I'm not frustrated at anyone. Just the whole situation as it is, having to do restart after restart after restart, just destroyed my tires. And I had a long run car and I never got a long run. So it's like, not much I can do about it. I mean, Garrett raced me clean all night. There was no issues there. He did a good job. He got a good run. After like my seventh restart, my tires were just like screaming for help. So it's not like he did anything there that was wrong or anything like that. So it's frustrating to do all of that work and end up second. Still get points out of it, but you kind of want to close the gap a little more going into the last couple weeks here. And just a little frustrating. I thought we had that, but I can only control myself and can't really, control other people if other people are struggling to control their cars. So it is what it is. But we'll regroup and roll back for another short track next week.
Yep, still opportunity to get back up there, and it's still, I don't have the math, but it's still really close between the drivers in the top three for the championship standings. How are you feeling about Southern National next week now that things are said and done here tonight?
Not good. I think next week's going to be a lot like this week, and it's going to be all qualifying, and it'll kind of be eye pacing for half the night. Maybe a little bit less because Southern National is a little more banked than here, but it just seems like these short tracks, they're fun to race, but it just turns into a caution fest, and cautions breed cautions, and next thing you know, you're just like halfway through the race and you haven't really done much, so you're just kind of like trying to be like, okay, when am I going to get an opportunity to do something here? So and it's just one of those weeks, I guess. But we'll get back in. We'll get back in and kind of regroup and do what we can.
Seems like a pretty solid plan to me. And of course, after that, we're ditching the short tracks. We're crowning the champion at Pocono. Y'all might have a little bit more breathing room there. But one way or another, one heck of a race here tonight. One heck of a finish for you, Mr. Sabelski. Who you want to thank for making everything happen?
Well, thanks to the team at Maconia Setup Shop, official setup shop in NASCAR. Good group of folks. Really have helped me over the years kind of get better at these short track races, and I thought we had them tonight, but that's just the way it goes. SM Racing, of course, for sponsoring and the fine button box that I get to use, so good quality stuff. Sure, check them out. Have everybody on Twitch. Hi, thanks for hanging out. And Jason, obviously, for hosting the league. It's fun, It's it's a lot of work, but it's fun. And thanks everyone for showing up tonight. And hopefully we'll get them next week.
Good deal. Well, thank you for coming out, and I look forward to seeing you next week at Southern National.
Thank you.
And jumping back a little bit, going all over the place here in our podium here tonight. Going back to our esteemed self-proclaimed gynecologist, Mr. Howie Feltersnatch. You managed to pull off a podium. How are you feeling here tonight?
Well, I survived, and that was about all I could hope for tonight. The track was I did not feel comfortable at this track. I did not feel comfortable on entry. So my goal was really to run all the laps and try to stay out of trouble. Ended up qualifying fairly decent and just kind of stayed out of the mess for the most part. And Nobody ran into me. I didn't run into anybody else. I didn't spin the car. A couple close calls, but yeah, I just really was trying to hang on to tires, hoping that I'd have something at the end. I had a little bit more pace in second place at the end, I think, but not enough laps to make anything happen.
Yeah, definitely one of our crazier races so far this season. But still, you, a rookie driver, competing against a multi-time champion and a multi-time race winner for the lead of this race for the entire evening is no small feat.
Yeah, I guess I don't know how much I would have had for him up there. I was just hoping that he was going to burn off his tires, but like I said, I couldn't expect too much. This is only my second race in the league, and I'm a road course guy. And that's what I'll be doing after this tonight is more road course stuff. The oval stuff is always intrigued me, but it's new to me. So this is only my second one of these in the league, and trying to figure this stuff out.
Well, I do have good news for you then. Next week, heading over to a track that is the same length as this one, Southern National Motorsports Park. Then the good news gets a little bit worse because after that, we go to Pocono and we throw everything you've learned the past couple of weeks out the window.
Yeah, well, it's like I said, it's all new to me. Just trying to figure it out as I go, and I don't know, really more than anything, try to keep my head above water.
Good deal. Well, still a podium to your name. One heck of a race. Who all do you want to thank for making things happen here tonight?
Thanks for my wife for letting me spend a lot of time on this crap. And yeah, thanks to my buddy Mike that was helping me out and trying to help me figure out what the heck I'm doing on this stuff. He's a diehard oval guy and been doing oval for a long time, so a lot of it is, hey, I need you to do this, 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 hit the brakes here, turn here. So okay, yes sir, whatever you say.
Good deal. Well, thanks for coming out, and I look forward to seeing you next week at Southern National.
See you then.
And then jumping right back out to the front of things, Mr. Garrett Streets taking home win number 2 of the season here tonight. How are you feeling?
Feel pretty good. You never know when you're going to get one of these. Each one of them is pretty sweet. They're few and far between. So really happy to get another one and help out with the points. It was a real tough race. Brian just absolutely dominated there early, and I don't know, I guess I caught a break with all the cautions and was able to get by him. But yeah, great racing up front, great racing. We had a lot of clean battles up at the front. I know there was a lot of mistakes being made and stuff happened farther in the back, but yeah, just another fun night, good group of people to race with, really respectful and happy to get a win.
Yeah, definitely a heck of a race. And now going into Southern National, a very similar track to this one, you are our new championships points leader. Do you think Southern National is going to be a track where you're going to be able to hold on to it?
I hope so. I don't know. I've not super experienced at Southern National. I've ran there a lot with ASRC over the seasons. I think maybe my first win in the league came there back in the modified days. I'm not positive of that, so don't quote me. But yeah, we've been really good so far this season on the short tracks and had a lot of speed there. So hopefully we can keep it up and have another good week next week.
That seems like a pretty solid plan to me. And then, of course, we can't not talk about the championship event. Going to Pocono Raceway, throwing pretty much everything that's been learned at every track so far this season completely out the window. How do you feel about heading over to the Tricky Triangle?
I like Pocono a lot. I enjoy racing there. It's a tough track. There's going to be a lot of curveballs coming. I expect other people to be fast there too. And with it being deciding the championship, I think everyone's going to bring their best stuff. So we'll see how good we can do and do the best we can. But I'm hoping that between this week and next week, we don't have to be perfect at Pocono. So
Good deal. Well, I got advice. Don't celebrate your win too hard. You need to be in good shape for Southern National next week because you are the new championship leader. No pressure. That said, though, the microphone's all yours, Mr. Streets. Who do you want to thank for taking home win number 2 here this season?
Want to thank all the guys at ASRC, Johnny, Jason. I know Brian does some of the admin stuff as well, or race admin stuff as well. Want to thank you for broadcasting. I want to give a shout out to my girlfriend Morgan for watching the races and cheering me on. I want to give a shout out to Jeremy, the other half of SM Racing Products. He puts in a lot of work, and he does more than I do over there. So, yeah, if you're in the market for button box or flag display or light bar, check out smracingproducts.com. You can find us on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook. Keep an eye open this week for Black Friday, Cyber Monday, Small Business Saturday deals. We're going to have some stuff going up there. So, yeah, if you wouldn't mind checking us out, we'd greatly appreciate it.
Good deal. Well, thank you for coming out. Congratulations on the win, and good luck at Southern National next week.
Thank you, Aiden. We'll see you then.
You heard it here first, race fans. Your top 3 finishers here this evening: Garrett Streets, Brian Sobelski, and the self-proclaimed Howie Feltersnatch. The more I say it, the more I'm convinced that's just what he wrote on the sign-up sheet and might not be his real name, or we'll figure out about that by the time the championship rolls around. But for now, of course, there are more drivers in this race than just our top 3 finishers. So how about we take a look at our race results? Of course, these are all unofficial. There could be changes. Who knows? That's all up to race control to figure out. But as it stands right now, following our top 3 finishers, Brandon Feeney is going to be bringing it home position number 4, followed by Justin Walters rounding out the top 5. 6, going to go back to that 78 of Derek Murphy, followed by the 93 ASRC entry of Jason Gardner. Jeremy Morrow bringing home P number 8, followed by Corey Logan and TJ Henson, rounding out the top 10 here this evening. That's going to be Michael Sparks and Nico Morelli rounding out the tail end of the field here tonight. That said, that's just about all we've got here from the South Boston Speedway. Thank you all for tuning in to one heck of a crazy event here tonight. Only 2 races left on the docket before we crown ourselves a champion for season number 12. That, of course, being the Southern National Motorsports Park next week. And then Pocono Raceway is where we are going to be crowning a champion. That said, thank you all for tuning in here this evening, and we look forward to seeing y'all same day, same time, Monday night at 10 p.m. Eastern for round 11 of the ASRC Oval Series. Have a good evening, race fans.